everyone, especially to you, Sir Simon. I am Nerben Dayanan, I'm the leader of group number 4, and today, together with my group mates, we're going to discuss the topic which is the beginnings of Filipino nationalism. But first, let me ask you, what is revolution for you? Do you hear the word revolution? Well, revolution is the usually violent attempt by many people to end the rule of one government and start a new one. Prior to the 18th century, there were already revolutions, but with quiet, unrelated reasons. First, to reclaim one's chieftain or kingdom. One of the factors affecting the occurrence of the revolution in the 18th century, people in this era are strongly executing a protest in reclaiming their kingdom back. Second, to resist forced labor that separated them from their families. Well, we already know about the forced labor since it is being discussed by the other group. In this era, people, especially men, are fighting against forced labor that has been implemented by their government. They are battling, and this becomes one of the factors of the revolution. Third, to rid off oppressive tribute, or in Tagalog, ang pag-alis na mapag-aping pagpupugay. So in this time period, there were tribute which seems severe and have a negative impact on the people. And lastly, to return the ancient religion. People in this era are fighting to bring back their traditional beliefs. What are the examples of ancient religions that still exist today? Well, we have the Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, and Zoroastrianism, and many more. Okay? So during the 1800s and the 1900s, the end use only then felt the need for unity and consciousness as nation. So, who are those Indians? What does Indians mean? Well, Indians were defined as the native indigenous peoples in all the Spanish American and Asian positions. During the Spanish colonial period in the Mariana Islands, 17th to 19th centuries, the Chamorro people were classified as Indians. So these are the things that we'll be going to discuss by my group mates. So first is the Britain's invasion to the colony, the Silang and Polaris revolts, Basi revolt against Governor General Basco's monopolies, opening of ports and Suez Canal, and lastly, secularization movement that led by the Indios and mestizos. So during the year 1761, Spain and France made an agreement against the invasion of England, and in that 7 years of European war, Spain were involved. In the same year, England sent an expedition from India to Spain to occupy, but Spaniards sieged it. Auxperio Manuel Rujo was the Governor General in this time. The general forcefully wanted to surrender Manila and Cavite, but Simon Anda resumed resistance. September 22, 1762, Spain, England, and remembered Filipino and soldier strength, 6,000 men, sepoys, and Englishmen concentrated in Chamorro's ramparts of San Diego and San Andres areas attack. And Chamorro's Malate Ermita Bagumbayan. The Spanish defeat thus revealed its vulnerability, giving courage for Filipino mutiny to arise. And by then, the nationalism starts to emerge.
Good day everyone, I am Mary Rose B. Canonigo from Group 4, and I was assigned to discuss the Silang and Polaris revolt under the Unit 4, the beginnings of Filipino nationalism. So let us all discuss first what is the Silang Revolt. So it took around 1762 to 1763. It took place during the British invasion of Manila. So the British invasion was to occupy and to seize the Philippines from Spain. So it was fueled by grievances stemming from the Spanish tributes and abuses. So the Silang Revolt existed to stop the Spaniards from being abusive, because despite of the fact that they have contributed in many good ways, there is still a lot of Spanish officials that uses their power, their wealth, their right to abuse the low lives. So, on December 14, 1762, Diego Silang declared the independence of Ilocania, or mas known siya karon as Ilocos, naming the state Free Ilocos and proclaimed Vigan as its capital. So, this time, Diego Silang acted on his own will. He acted as the leader of the state. Clearly, gisupak niyang mga Spaniards, gisupak niyang government sa Spaniards. So that is the start of the Silang Revolution. So, Diego Silang was assassinated on May 28, 1763 by the Spanish officials and his fellow locals who betrayed him and sided with the Spaniards. So, at first, his revolution was successful, but then it was derailed by his fellow locals named Pedro Becbec and Miguel Vicos. So, to be specific, Miguel Vicos is the one na ningtabang sa mga Spanish officials para ma-assassinate si Diego Silang. His wife, Maria Josefa Gabriela Carino de Silang, or also known as Gabriela Silang, continued the revolution against the Spaniards until she and her followers were apprehended and then executed on September 20, 1763. So, if the Silang Revolution started on December 14, 1762 when Diego Silang proclaimed the independence of the Ilocos state. So it was ended on September 20, 1763, so almost 1 year. It was ended when his wife, Maria Josefa Gabriela Carino de Silang, was executed. So, by the way, Gabriela Silang is the best known as the first female leader of the revolutionary movement against the Spanish colonizer. She is one of the most prominent figures of the revolution and one of the most distinguished women in the Philippine history. So kung makabantay mo, every time nga na ay mga mga revolutionary or women empowerment, kini si Gabriela Silang, mao ni siyang permi na ipakita pananglitan ang iyahang picture baka ha, ipakita, or ang iyahang nganjud ang perming mugawas, because she is the first leader of a revolutionary movement. So, okay? And also, Gabriela Silang or Maria Josefa Gabriela Carino de Silang is one of the Philippine national heroes. The Silang Revolt is one of the most famous revolts in Philippine history. So, despite of being tragic, but still, it is one of the most famous. Kay, this was kay buwis buhay man kumbaga kung sa Tagalog pa buwis buhay, because Diego Silang actually nakigsabuaton siya sa mga British. So dito pa lang sa part na nakipagsabuaton siya, buwis buhay na kaayo kay para lagi mapatalsik ang mga Spaniards dito sa ilahang lugar. So okay, moving on, let's go to the Palaris Revolts. So Palaris Revolts took around 1762 to 1765. It was led by Juan de la Cruz Palaris, also known as Pantaleon Perez, of Binalatongan, or now is called San Carlos City, Pangasinan. So, this revolt nahitabo ni siya during nahitabo pod ang the Silang Revolution. Only that the Silang Revolution, it took around almost 1 year. But this is 1762, 1763, 1764, 1765. It took 4 years. So, it is also to end the tributes and abuses of Spaniards in Pangasinan. So, just like the Silang Revolution, ang Palaris Revolution kay same ra sila goal. Same ra sila para mapastop ang mga Spaniards on being abusive towards the Filipinos. So, this come to a temporary end with Palaris victory and the assignment of an all-native leadership in Pangasinan. So, Palaris was able to gain alliance, to form alliance within the whole state within Pangasinan. So, daghan kayo siyag mga nag-gain na alliance sa mga laing-laing lugar sa Pangasinan. And for more than a year, he dominated Pangasinan. So, bali siya na yung naghari-hari siya yung nag-leader dito. Kay lagi, magkuan siya revolution. So, in the end, Palaris was defeated, then died in battle. So, it was during the British invaders left the Philippines. So, this kanang around 1764, I guess? Yes, around 1764, the British invaders left the Philippines. Kay human naman sila sa war. So, tungod ana, the Spaniards grabbed that opportunity. Kay lagi, wala naman ang mga British na mulaban sa mga Pinoy. Wala naman ang mga British na mulaban sa mga taong nang ginahanglan nila. So, ilahang nang gigrab ang opportunity ang mga Spaniards. So, that time, they send 3,000 Ilocos soldiers para mulaban sa mga Pangasinense nga nag-revolt. So, that time, tungod sa battle nila, maunang namatay si Palaris. So, if we go back to the Silang Revolution rather. So, pagkamatay nila Diego o Gabriela Silang, so tungod kay namatay naman sila, wala nang leader sa revolutionary movement, maunang nakuha na sa Spaniards ang tibuok Ilocos. So, dito sila nanguhag 3,000 soldiers para nasad ilahang i-deploy sa Pangasinan o ilahang ipabattle sa mga ilahang sila nag-declare sila war dito sa mga Pangasinense nga nag-revolutionary movement pod towards them. So that is the end of the Palaris Revolution. So just like the Silang Revolution, tragedy ra gihapon kay namatay ra pod gihapon ang leader. But despite sa tragedy, those two revolutionary movements demonstrated the capability of Filipinos to unite and expel the Spaniards. So, despite sa kamatuoran nga, pwede silang mamatay, pwede ma-defeat sila in the end, those revolutionary leaders was able to, was able to sacrifice themselves in order lang para jud mapahawa ang mga Spaniards. So, thank you. That's all. Have a good day.
Good day, everyone. I am Abegail Ponteras, and my part is the Vasco's Economic Plan. In 1778, Jose Vasco y Vargas is the new Governor-General, and in 1781, he established the tobacco monopoly to aim of increasing the government revenue, but later on it was failed kaya ang nakinabang raani is only the government and not the people. So he established the Economic Society of Friends of the country, which revived the tobacco industry in the Spanish Philippines. Iyan ning establish nga plan, it's because para dili ra ang mga taga-government ang makinabang kundi ang mga kadaghanan pod. One of his reasons sad nga nung iyan ning establish is because he's hoping nga ang Philippines kay makalaya na sa Mexican and Chinese trade. By his economic plan, he encouraging people to plant cotton, spices, sugarcane, and also mining para manguha ka ng ginto, pilak, tanso, ngayon ana, as well as giving them a reward for the scientific discovery they made. And after all, the Filipino farmers and traders is nakatilaw na sila kauswagan when Governor General Vasco is nagpasimula siya reforma nga naglalayong palayain ang economy. And I think that's all. Thank you.
So, good day everyone. I'm going to discuss about laissez-faire and the opening of ports. So, laissez-faire or let-alone policy gives full freedom to private sectors to engage in economic activities without much government interference. So, there are 5 characteristics of laissez-faire. Now, the government has a hands-off approach to the economy. Free market economy, private ownership, self-interest drives economic growth, non-interference by the government in private business. So, and there are 4 advantages of laissez-faire. So, number 1, encourages innovations and competitions. Second, promotes economic growth. Third, decreases government interference. Fourth, increase individual freedom. And there are disadvantages of laissez-faire. Number 1, can lead to income inequality. Second, lack of government regulations may lead to poor working conditions. Third, can lead to market failure and monopolies. And fourth, can create economic instability.
By opening of the ports, manufacturing and agriculture has consequences which develop to answer the demand of products from different regions. Why? Because opening the ports serves as important transportation hubs that facilitate goods movement, while the manufacturing allows business to sell products at higher cost than the value of the raw materials. And lastly, the agriculture which helps to create valuable conditions for the development of manufacturing activities. Nicholas Launay is the British Vice Consul in Iloilo who introduced the machinery that converts sugarcane into refined sugar. So, I have here the product area that produce coffee, which are the Batangas Hemp Camarines Norte, Sorsogon, Albay Camarines Sur Indigo Tobacco Ilocos, Cagayan Valley Sugarcane Negros, Iloilo, Pampanga, Laguna, and Batangas. This led to unprecedented prosperity of the provinces and the rise Filipino middle class. The rise of the Filipino middle class, inquilinos or tenants in the haciendas that began to accumulate wealth due to the progress. Ilustrados are the wealthy and well-educated Filipino insulares, are Spaniards born in the archipelago. Españoles or Peninsulares are Spaniards born in Spain, working and residing in our country. The rise of the Filipino middle class is a group below that aristocratic and the religious families, yet higher than the Indians constituted the middle class. Then, they were able to send their children to colleges or universities in Manila or Europe. Yet, the menace of discrimination lies lurking upon the middle class rise. The opening of the Suez Canal on 1869, the Suez Canal was opened. As a result, there was a shorter and travel time from Spain to its colony. Many Spaniards with progressive ideas migrated to the Philippines, Creoles, Varela Novales. Modern technology aided Filipinos' enlightenment, such as the mail, telegraph, telephone, and the Manila-Dagupan Railway.
So, good morning everyone. Good morning, sir. My assigned topic is all about the campaign for secularization. So, during the Spanish rule, there were 2 types of curates. The first one is regular priest and the second one is secular priest. So, regular priest is katuning mga tao nga member sa religious order and they have a mission to fulfill, which is to convert people to Christianity. And secular priest, so katuning mga tao nga dili member sa religious order and they are to administer in churches of Christianized areas. So pag 19th century, So katong mga mando nila is giwa sa mga native clergy. Native clergy is katuning mga tao nga katuning mga group of religious or officials as priests, ministers, rabbis, specially prepared and authorized to conduct religious services. So the government also gave the parishes run by Filipino seculars to Spanish regulars. This led to a racial overtone dubbed as Filipinization movement. So the campaign for secularization was first led by Fray Pablo Pedro Pilais, 1812 to 1863, succeeded by Father Jose A. Burgos, 1837 to 1872. Other seculars were involved who were Spanish mestizos, Chinese mestizos, or Indios such as Father Jacinto Zamora, Toribio del Pilar, Mariano Sevilla, Pedro Dandan, Jose Guevara. So Spanish regulars who occupied the parishes. So ang mga Spanish regulars is giblame nila ang mga Filipino seculars, which is ilang giingnan nga they aren't good enough. So this caused greater enmity between them. So greater enmity means kanang nag-cause og labaw nga pagdumot. So meanwhile, the seculars continue their campaign relentlessly. Thank you.
Cavite Mutiny, January 20, 1872, brief uprising of 200 Filipino troops and workers at the Cavite Arsenal, which became the excuse for Spanish repression of the embryonic Philippine nationalist movement. Ironically, the harsh reaction of the Spanish authorities served ultimately to promote the nationalist cause. The mutiny was quickly crushed but the Spanish regime under the reactionary governor Rafael de Izquierdo magnified the incident and used it as an excuse to clamp down on those Filipinos who had been calling for governmental reform. A number of Filipino intellectuals were seized and accused of complicity with the mutineers. After a brief trial, 3 priests, Jose Borges, Jacinto Zamora, and Mariano Gomez, were publicly executed. The 3 subsequently became martyrs to the cause of Philippine independence. Mutiny, any overt act of defiance or attack upon military authority by 2 or more persons subjects to such authority used to describe non-military instances of defiance of attack, such as mutiny on board a merchant ship or a rising of slaves in a state in which slavery is recognized by law or custom. Mutiny should be distinguished from revolt or rebellion, which involve a more widespread defiance and which generally have political objective. Mutiny was regarded as a most serious offense, especially aboard ship at sea, because the safety of the ship was thought to depend upon the submission of all persons on board to the will of the captain. Wide disciplinary powers were given to the commanding officer, including the power to inflict the death penalty without a court-martial. With the development of radio communications, however, such stringent penalties have become less necessary, and under many current military codes, sentences for mutiny can be passed only by court-martial. On January 20, 1872, the Cavite Mutiny, an uprising of military personnel at the Spanish arsenal in Cavite took place. This event subsequently led to the execution of the Filipino priest, as always, Mariano Gomez, Jose Borges, and Jacinto Zamora, otherwise known as Gumburza. The unsuccessful mutiny was participated in by around 200 soldiers and laborers of the engineering and artillery corps, who rose up after their salaries were reduced upon the order of the Governor-General Rafael by subjecting them to personal taxes from which they were previously exempt. The taxes required them to pay a monetary sum as well as to perform forced labor, or what they called polo y servicio. The pricing was used by the Spanish colonial government to implicate and sentence to death by garrote Fathers Mariano Gomez, Jose Borges, and Jacinto Zamora on February 17, 1872 in Bagumbayan, and several other Filipino leaders. Those executions, particularly those of the Gumburza, were to have a significant effect on people because of the shadowy nature of the trials. Dr. Jose Rizal dedicated his work El Filibusterismo to the executed priest. Many scholars believe that the Cavite Mutiny of 1872 was the beginning of Filipino nationalism, which eventually led to the 1896 Philippine Revolution. And the Cavite Mutiny was an aim of the natives to get rid of the Spanish government in the Philippines due to the removal of privileges enjoyed by the laborers of the Cavite arsenal at Fort San Felipe, such as exemption from the tribute and forced labor.
Hello, good day everyone. So I am Jelay Sigue. My topic is about the execution of Gomburza. Before ko mag-discuss, so what is Gomburza? So, Gomburza is the three priests nga mo si Father Mariano Gomez, Jose Borges, and Father Jacinto Zamora. Gikumbay ng ilang mga apelido mo ng Gomburza. O kaning tulo ka pari is napriso ni sila kay tungod gisuspekan sila nga sila daw ang galid sa Cavite Mutiny. O gisalayan sila sa gobyerno tungod sa ilang pagrebelde, pero ang gobyerno walay proof or evidence nga ang Gomburza konektado sa pagrebelyon. Pero ang gobernador general is nisaad nga mopresentar siya og ganang dokumento aron sa pagpamatuod nga sad-an ang tulo ka pari, pero wala asikaso sa gobernador general ang documents. Hangtod sa pag-February 17, 1872, ang tulo ka pari kay gipamarcha gikan sa Fort Santiago hangtod sa Bagumbayan Field ug gitagsatagsag patay ang tulo ka pari. The importance of this event rests in the fact that Filipinos who witnessed were united as one country and started to turn away from regionalist mentality. From this time forward, they felt the need for nationwide unity. Saksi si Dr. Rizal sa pagkamatay sa tulo ka pari. O gusto ni Dr. Rizal nga magkayusa ang tibok nasud. Og mao ni ang reason nga nang nasuwat niya ang El Filibusterismo.